You can shoot me with your words. You can cut me with your lies. You can kill me with your hatefulness. But just like life, I'll rise.
I have a dream that one day this nation will rise up and live out the true meaning of its creed. We ain't gonna let nobody turn us around.
Roosevelt Thompson, born November 30th, 1933. The same year, Franklin Delano Roosevelt, the man he was named after, was inaugurated as the 32nd President of the United States. It was also the height of the Great Depression. A strong generation grew out of those tough times, those who were willing to learn and also teach that the purpose of life is a life of purpose. Roosevelt lost his mother when he was 9 years old, and family members talk about how he was destined for the funeral business. They could see it even at a young age.
He was raised by my grandfather and my grandmother, who of course I never met, sisters, and they always said that he would be in this business because they say he would go and he would like bury chickens and dogs and stuff that was dead. He would go and have a funeral for it. My father started the Unity Mortuary of Williamston, where we are right now, in 1968.
February 4th of that same year, Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. delivered a sermon at Ebenezer Baptist Church in Atlanta. Some say it contained his own eulogy. By April the 4th of 68, Dr. King was dead, killed at the Lorraine Motel in Memphis. King's death affected Roosevelt.
He was very close with the King family. Martin Luther King's father dedicated this place in 1968, only a few months after his son was assassinated in Memphis, Tennessee.
Mr. Thompson continued to help the King family even after the assassination, aiding Mrs. King as she worked to carry on her husband's legacy.
And then when Dr. King was assassinated, my father wanted to do something because Miss King wanted to carry on his legacy. So they became very good friends. And so he helped her to raise money, to do things, to help people, to get legislation passed, and to be able to do a lot of things, voting rights acts, nonviolence, all of these different things that they did. And again, grassroots level, there are things that we have to do on the grassroots level that help those things on the national level, and my father was one of them.
Unity Mortuary stands prominent in Williamston, but this isn't the only location. Mr. Thompson had a vision.
And he opened up the second branch in Anderson in 1994, the Unity Mortuary of Anderson. And he began with W.I. Peak in Anderson as a young boy, and he just had a fascination for the funeral industry.
That is the same year Dr. Harold Mackey was elected the first Black mayor pro tem on Williamston City Council. Moving forward wasn't impossible, but sometimes difficult for minorities, including Roosevelt Thompson.
Oh yes, even getting the very property that we own now, he had to jump through all kinds of hoops. He told us about Mr. W.I. Peak. He was, of course, his protege. So when he was coming up under him, he said when he got ready to buy his first Cadillac in the 50s, they wouldn't sell a black man a Cadillac. And he had to go all the way to North Carolina to buy a Cadillac. And they went through all kind of different things. They really understood the Jim Crow separate but equal. They actually lived under real racism. Not saying racism doesn't exist, but they knew what up in your face racism was about.
With persistence and perseverance, African Americans learned to navigate many hurdles in order to survive and in some cases thrive.
And I am so proud of those entrepreneurs because they produce land, houses, businesses, and that group of people were true pioneers, and my father was one of them.
What Mr. Thompson and other men and women of his generation were able to accomplish is still making an impact today.
My father was the first to give money for the Martin Luther King for nonviolent social change in Atlanta and help raise money to build that place.
The Nonviolence Center still stands as a beacon of hope and inspiration for the thousands of people who come to see and learn.
To leave, when you go through Atlanta, you will see Martin Luther King's suit hanging up in the Atlanta airport. Manford, why would they want to put your suit in there? What did you do? What did you leave behind? Leave your mark. Don't just live, eat, and die. I feel like I should do better because I was given more. You know, my father only went to the 10th grade.
Caring for a family during one of their toughest times takes patience and grace. It's something Mr. Thompson instilled in his children about the business.
Our job is to try to get families back to where they were before death actually occurred.
Thompson always wanted to share his passion for the funeral industry.
So he really liked it, and he raised up a lot of other guys around him, as well as myself and my brothers, and taught us the business. If you look in the Black community, there are very few businesses that go past the second generation. Very few. So he wanted this business to continue on and for the family to have something that they could call their own.
Growing up in the funeral business seemingly paved the way for Manford and his siblings.
You know, when you're a kid and you work in the mortuary business, you see things and it prepares you for life. You realize how fragile these bodies are.
Valuable lessons learned by Manford and passed on to his two daughters, who are also working in the family business, paving the way for Roosevelt Thompson's legacy to live on.
In other words, I'm handing this off to you. Don't fumble the ball. And that stays ringing in my ear a lot too. You know, don't fumble this, because I worked hard. Your mother worked hard. So don't fumble the ball.
And I've seen the promised land.
The community and law enforcement are one. You cannot separate community from who we are. These officers put a lot into what they do, a lot of heart and soul in what they do. My mother's 94, and she's seen a lot. She's seen our first African-American president. She saw me being the first African-American chief, and she's lived to see the first African-American vice president of the United States.
I may not get there with you, but I want you to know tonight that we as a people will get to the promised land.